Okay, welcome again. This week we're on chapter 5, the nature of ourself, and we will begin with meditation. Okay, so take a minute to arrive. Find yourself in this moment. And I invite you to notice the part of you that is aware. Notice that you have the capacity to be aware and turn your attention toward that awareness. Welcome, Spirit Song. We're just dropping into meditation. Glad you're here.
I just said I'm sorry I'm late, but I didn't want to miss.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
So become aware that you are aware. Aware, for instance, of the sound of my voice. Aware, for instance, of sensations on the surface of your skin. And instead of going into what you're aware of, for instance, the sounds, the sensations, notice instead that you are aware. So I invite you to take a step back from experience. And be present instead with what knows your experience. And I invite you to notice that whatever it is that knows your thoughts, knows thought, is not itself a thought. And whatever it is that knows sensations is not itself a sensation. Whatever it is that knows emotions is not itself an emotion. So get curious. Just invite us all into curiosity and wonder about what is the nature of ourself before it is qualified by experience. And I invite us all also, instead of looking for the answer to the question, rather just stay with the openness that the question points us towards. So I'll ask the question again. What is the nature of ourself before it is qualified by experience? And now let's take a couple of deep breaths into a soft, gentle belly. And I'll open it up for any comments or anything you noticed from the meditation before we begin the reading. Shall we read? Great. So beginning with chapter 5, the nature of ourself. Anybody care to read first? And we'll just read one section to start.
I'll start.
Great.
The nature of ourself. All experience arises within us, within awareness. We are like an aware screen upon which the movie of experience is playing, and with which it is known. Just as the screen never appears as an object in the movie, we never appear as an object in or of experience. We can never be found or known as a thought, image, feeling, sensation, or perception. And just as the screen is neither separate from the movie nor limited by it, we are not separate from experience, nor are we limited or conditioned by it. We are the colorless, unlimited, unconditioned, self-aware screen upon which all experience plays, with which all experience is known, and ultimately out of all of which experience is made. All experience is made of ourself, but ourself is not made of any particular experience. Experience is the activity of awareness. This awareness is not a spiritual, metaphysical, or enlightened awareness to which only certain special people have privileged access. It is the ordinary, intimate, familiar awareness with which each of us is currently aware of our experience, to which we refer when we say I or myself. Nor is this a description of how we might become if we meditate for long enough or practice hard enough. It is simply an attempt within the limitations of language to describe or evoke the presence of awareness as it is now and has always been, intimately one with all experience, but sharing none of its qualities, unconditioned, unlimited, infinite.
And let's just rest in silence for a moment.
Mm.
And let's open it up.
I like the sentence, all experience is made of ourself, but ourself is not made of any particular experience.
Me
Kind of
too.
an interesting paradox, or I don't know how to articulate that, but experience is the activity of awareness. So prior to reading that this week, I was unaware. I was unaware of that, but all experience is made of ourself. That's a new thought for me.
Yeah.
It's been good to chew on that. I like it.
Yeah. Me too. And something that it connects for me that he refers to later. Let's see. Yeah, he refers to that later. So one of the things that it connects to for me is like, he's said in this book that it's an important step to go through like what I am is not a thought, what I am is not a feeling, what I am is not a sensation, right? So it's important to kind of go through what is often known as the neti approach, like not this, not that, in order to discover awareness, what's prior to, and then, but then, that's just one recognition. Then there's more recognitions that can add on to that. Like it's important to return to awareness, but then also to find how, or we can also find how all experiences are made of what I'm made of, So rather than staying with not this, not that, like that's just a step. And I appreciate that, like that he draws that out, it's true that I'm not this and not that. And there's a further recognition that I can come to once I come to that awareness, like once I return to awareness, then I can find that all experience is actually made of the same thing that I'm made of. Right. And that's just really fascinating to me. It's like this interesting step. We have to like, we're out there in the world and we have to like draw ourselves back in, find what we are, and then return, knowing what we are.
Mhm. Mhm.
I have a little bit of language play, which may or may or not, excuse me, um, may or may not be helpful, but it might be. So when I read that, because I was fixated on the same sentence, so all experience is made of ourself, but ourself is not made of any particular experience. I just out of interest, I took that down I thought, well, what if experience is a cake made of ingredients? Then that sentence would read, all cake is made of our ingredients, but our ingredients are not made of any particular cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a
And if
similar
it's not
thing.
completely wrong, it sort of.
Yeah. Do you mind if I jump in or you want to continue?
No, please.
Yeah. I did a similar kind of thing, like looking at, I think we often kind of think of, at least in consensus reality, like we kind of think of like form as reality, like I have a head and here's a window, we're looking at things, this is what's real. And that creates the world of illusion and separation, and what can be helpful instead, for me anyway, is to look at the space that contains all of it, and the space connect, like the space. It's more true that what I am, or what we are, is more likened to the space. And sometimes I think of like the light that fills the space, which is in some ways kind of a thing. But anyway, sometimes those are interchangeable in my mind to do a similar kind of metaphor. And so I was playing with so experience I interchange with form, and self I interchange with space or light. So what I was playing with, all form is made of light, but light is not made of any particular form. And for me, that's helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like it kind of points to the same kind of truth. Like, what is it that's prior to the thing that we're more aware of our experience? Usually we're more aware of form than we are of space. So what's the thing that's prior to that? That's helpful to me.
What's interesting to me is how just since really dipping into this, I'm now starting to think of me as formless. And the sentence, nor is this a description of how we might become if we meditate for long enough or practice hard enough, getting out of the mental part of any of it. This attempt within the limitations of language, which is what came up when we were meditating and thinking about describing whatever you were asking us to describe at the time. I just felt like, but I can't. That uses language, and this is not describable from my perception at this point. That it might be that at some point I would find some way to do that, but right now, what I felt when I was tapping into that is like when I'm in ceremony and I'm just expanding endlessly, and there's no beginning and no end of that. It is unlimited, but there aren't, I don't have any words for it at this point. I mean, if somebody does, I'd love to hear it. But and the beautiful thing, again, especially since we've been doing this, for me, is how easily I have become okay with that. Not, I tend to, like many of us, want to get into the mental realm and figure it out. And when you're dealing with things that there are no ways to describe, like we do up here, then either we get frustrated or we say, it's okay. It's perfect the way it is. And if I need to know, I'll know. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about this is how juicy it is with everybody's thoughts and different perceptions. And I'm a farm girl. I grew up on the farm, and everything was connected to nature. And I didn't need to explain things, even things I didn't know what they were. But as I got older, it became more and more natural to want to describe everything, to want to understand, to want to break it down so that it all makes sense. And I find myself coming back in these elder years to the childhood kind of simplicity of just is. And yet I adore hearing everybody's descriptions. There's still a very strong part of me that likes playing in this realm. So this is perfect for doing that both ways, just being and falling into it, and yet coming to understand it more. I thank all of you for that. And this amazing book and mind that is giving us these concepts.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, something that brings up for me is like the concept of paradox. You know, like how our minds can't really grasp it because it can seem to be contradictory things. You know, it's like it's this, but it's not this, and it's that, but it's also the opposite of that. And to me, that ability to be with paradox and welcome paradox is like such a skill that I think is really, really helpful to lean into as it opens our minds. The ability to be with the seeming opposites at the same time. Like, okay, got it. It's this and it's not this. Yep.
Of course. And then I love what the indigenous folks call Great Spirit, Great Mystery. Because it is. You know, we can wear ourselves out trying to figure it out. But the curiosity, the desire to learn more, to know more is healthy, as long as we don't get hung up in it, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Cluelessness is not always a bad thing. For me, just resting for me in spirit, knowing that the answers are there. I don't have to know why. I don't have to know for some things. But just a thought that popped up when Spirit Song was talking, I think of sometimes awareness is the space that's around me, just space, and experience is this form that I see, like the window and things that you were pointing to, BJ. But more and more, I'm starting to see people in meditation as energy. It's like this golden light, this beautiful bright light, some of it emanating, you know, from like the crown chakra, but replacing the form of body temple into energetic light being.
Yeah.
And I just see my aura as this essence of my awareness. And as I circle out, this becomes form / experience / illusion, but the space is my awareness. And I just kind of thought of this too, that I've thrown that word namaste out in my mind for a long time, but I think I've been interpreting it on an ego level in experience, and not as the divine in me sees the divine in you. That requires a dimensionality of, for me to see others as energetic beings in the space of love. So this is my awareness. It is space. And the content of experience is the form that I interpret around me. But to see the love in all beings is becoming more now of a seeing without eyes. the third eye, then it truly is namaste. The divine in me sees the divine in you, but I don't see you as form. I see you as beautiful light being.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I liked this chapter a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shall we read the next section? Great. Anybody up for reading?
Oh, good.
Great.
The awareness that knows our current experience is not different from that which knew our experience 10 minutes, 10 days, or 10 years ago. Our thoughts, sensations, and perceptions change constantly, but awareness itself has not changed. As a child, we looked at the ocean and said, I see water. Now we look around and say, I see room. The water and the room are different, but it is the same awareness that perceived the water then and perceives the room now. Throughout the adventure of our lives, we have not changed or aged. We're always in the same pristine, ageless condition. Nothing ever happens to awareness. It is never changed, moved, or harmed by any experience, just as a screen is never stained or tarnished by the content of a movie. Awareness is always in the same transparent, luminous, spacious, welcoming condition. And just as nothing that takes place in a movie adds or removes anything from the screen, nothing that takes place in experience adds or removes anything from our essential nature of pure awareness. We are never aggrandized or diminished by experience. We're always perfect, whole, complete, and inherently fulfilled. We never gain or lose anything from the drama of experience. The drama only turns into trauma when we get lost in it or become identified with it. Go on or stay here?
Yeah, let's just pause. And let's open it up for discussion. One thing that I can put out there right away is I've heard some disinclination towards the image of the screen, and maybe that has to do with the technology aspect. And I find that for myself sometimes, like the screen image doesn't resonate as much, and sometimes I play instead with a mirror, which does the same thing. Like the mirror, let's see, just as nothing takes place in a mirror adds or removes anything from the mirror. It does a helpful thing for me. Like it's something that doesn't require technology, in order to make it work. Anyway, so just wanted to throw that out there, that's also an image to play with if that resonates. I also, one of the sentences that stands out to me in this section is, we are never aggrandized or diminished by experience. I really appreciate that. Like even when experience, it's just, I mean, of course he's saying the same things over and over and over, right? And And that's part of the teaching technique, is like circling around it in all these different ways. But there's something about that framing. We're never aggrandized or diminished by experience. We're unchanged. Just really, the way he says that works for me somehow.
Yeah, I've heard what he said in the final sentence in maybe a slightly different way, but that the drama only turns into trauma when we get lost in it or become identified. And that is such a very powerful healing tool for me, is to remember that know the truth, respect the illusion, but know the truth. And so interpretation and all these things, we can get lost in that, but it's true. As soon as I get hooked, as soon as, for me, the ego grabs onto that illusion and starts running with it, that's where the traumatic, painful suffering steps into place. So it is to remain this changeless one in all of the drama and the changefulness of the world. But that's a very potent, powerful, instantaneous, like I think, healing tool for me, because something came up today and I got lost in the illusion for about an hour, and it was painful. And I just kept coming back to, I know who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. I am free. I'm free. I'm free. I kept repeating this mantra. This experience that's happening right now is not who I am. So I appreciate that, little way he ended that section of the chapter, that it's easy in this world to get lost by all of the trappings of what's around us. But that is why, as he points constantly to me, the self-inquiry is so necessary. I mean, it's all about peace, right? That's really the purpose. That is the purpose. What brings peace? And that peace is to be that I am presence, remembering I'm perfect, whole, and complete, inherently fulfilled. And when I latch on to the drama, pain kicks in like fast. And it doesn't feel good. So I got to follow the breadcrumbs of what feels good and hang on to that. Because when I'm aligned, I feel good. So it was nice I enjoyed reading, I liked reading that reminder. Stand in my truth, that is my center. Oh, there is no loss on this path. That's the other thing I was thinking too. That popped in when I read this. God doesn't bring anything in our experience for loss. It's always for gain.
Yeah. As you were talking, Caroline, it was reminding me of a quote from Ra, that, like, you were talking about the challenge of your day and how you're returning to the truth of yourself. And what came to me as I was reminded of the quote from Ra speaking about identity, like, because I was, I also hear the quote at the end of that section, like, that points to me to identity, that drama turns to trauma when we get lost in it or become identified with it, when it becomes our identity, right? Like, our sense of self mixes with experience and we're lost in it. So I just wanted to read this. This is from 4.20 in the Raw Contact. The law of one, though beyond the limitations of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes, may be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love, light, light, love, the infinite creator. And to me, it feels like that Ra is saying the same thing, and Ra's a little bit trickier to decipher, of course, because they're coming from a different kind of experience. Whereas Rupert, basically shares our same kind of experience. But to me, that's pointing to the same thing. And I just really appreciate that. There is no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. Yeah. I think that's what they're saying.
Oh, so are you saying that if we're perceiving right or wrong or disharmony, then that is identity that is doing that? Is that the way Raz
That's the
saying
way
that?
I interpret it.
Right, because I hadn't, and that's a lot better for me. Thank you.
Yeah. And
I
I could be
wondered what
wrong,
he
but
meant by
that's,
that.
yeah. Yeah. I kind of also take it as like opportunity, it's like opportunity to appear as though we're limited, even though we never are.
Mhm.
One of the things that's interesting for me of kind of the temptation to get lost in it or become identified with it, the drama part, is my desire to understand everything. And like in looking, I have chosen not to try to be a part of Law of One right now because I can only do a certain amount. And I started with this, and I'm allowing myself to be all right with not doing the secret of light or the raw material right now, and accepting I've been through a rough time physically. I got way too far behind. I'm not going to catch up right now. It's okay. I'll do it another time. But I can't help but glimpse into the discussions. And William, your amazing illustrations and all those kinds of things that I want to know what that means. And I can't, I don't have the time or maybe the bandwidth right now to fully rock all that. And I have to let myself go and say it's okay. But I don't have as much trouble doing that with other things sometimes as I do on this plane, where I think, well, for a moment, what's wrong with me? Why don't I get it? They get it. They're all talking about it. They get it. What's the matter with my brain? And then I take a big sigh and like, okay, if the time comes when I'm supposed to know that, then circumstances will be a little different and I'll know. And it's okay that there is so much I don't know, because we can't know it all anyway, right?
Mm.
But I
Well,
do, I admire that ability to dig into those things and come up with such amazing depth and understanding.
I just want to say very quickly to that I don't understand what I'm sharing either. They're like bits and pieces of something that I'm entirely aware I can't fully comprehend, and it's like, oh, does anyone else get a sensation of this from that? Like, I would never presume to try and ask somebody to understand all this stuff. Like, that's kind of borderline offensive because I don't.
Yeah, thank you for that awareness.
Mm.
Yeah, I really value that aspect of your personality and the way that you show up to William, with just so much curiosity and willingness to
Mhm.
go in there. Like, I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening, but I see this and I see that, and appreciate that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Shall we read another section? Spirit song, would you like to read?
Sure. Unqualified, unconditioned, aware being shines in each of our minds as the knowledge I or I am, the feeling of simply being or the sense of being myself, before what I am has been mixed with or colored by experience. What is the nature of ourself before it is qualified by experience? I am, and I know that I am. In that simple knowing of our own being, there is no experience of having an age. In order to believe that we have an age, it is necessary to refer to thought. In the absence of thinking, we have no experience of age. Even in the presence of thinking, there may be the belief in time, but never the actual experience of time. There is just the current experience appearing now. Age is never an experience, it is always a concept. Without reference to thought or memory, we have no actual experience of having a gender. Gender is an interpretation of sensations and perceptions. It is not an experience. None of these are essential to us, and therefore, none qualify what we essentially are. The gender fluidity movement originates from the intuition that our essential self or being has no gender, even if in most cases the separate self has appropriated this understanding and used it to perpetuate its illusory identity in a different guise. Referring only to the knowing of being, there is no experience of shape, size, or weight. These are also derived from sensations and perceptions. They do not give us any knowledge of ourself. In the pure knowledge I am, there is no experience of age, gender, shape, size, weight, nationality, location, solidity, density, or history. Before the I am is mixed with the content of experience, it has no form and therefore cannot legitimately be named. And yet, it is ourself. Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Let's just rest with that. Let it in for a moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
And let's open it up.
I had to really think about that one on age because age feels very real in 3D, you know, it's a very big emphasis. The body temple, the aging temple. And I just turned 60 this summer, and it's like I'm thinking about aging very differently than I did prior when I was 59. So as it feels as an experience, would we say that that is, or I ask this question, is that part of the illusion of separation is that I know I am the body. I'm aware of that. I've got that awareness, but I don't know what age is an experience separate from my form feels like. So I was kind of exploring this as I read this chapter a few weeks ago, and I thought, age is an experience. How does that feel? How does that look in my eyes that do not see, in my ears that do not hear, but to the awareness? I'm really trying to bring this to a beautiful marriage. It's very easy as one ages in this culture to be caught up in the negativity of all that. But I have not quantified how aging feels like an experience, because I don't know. I don't know where to start with this. It's other than I am not my body temple. The aches and pains, sometimes they are, I know why they came. I know thoughts and all of that. But I love to know that when I draw my last breath, and it's the portal into the next in breath, I am perfection. And I want to feel that perfection in the understanding, the understanding that age is an experience. What does that look like to you all?
I have some thoughts about that, and I'm happy to let someone else go first. Pointing to me.
Me? Oh,
I think William gestured. Great. Yeah, I think well, so meditative self-inquiry in the way that I practice it, this is a roundabout way of answering your question, but I am responding to your question. I often dive really into the experience of self mixed with experience, because that, like, to me, like really getting into and looking around at the experience of self mixed with experience and then stepping out of it can reveal, like, it's sort of like, here's self, here's experience. And it can be really helpful to look at them together and then look at self without experience, and to go back and forth, to me helps, like, oh, now I know these two. So like it can reveal, looking at them together and then separate can reveal. So to me, like, that's part of my practice, is to look at the experience of aging. And often when I look at experience through the lens of meditative self-inquiry, it can often look like one of the ways that experience can seem really real, like we can get lost in it, is with three components compiled together: an image, a sensation, and a story. Or, like, story is also like the meaning that I make of it. So what's helpful to me is to look at, okay, so the image, if I'm thinking about aging, that has to do with, okay, so I have an image of the body that isn't the body, like there's the body, but then there's also an image of it, a mental picture. So, like, I close my eyes and it's almost like I can see through my eyelids. Oh yeah, I see my leg, I see my shoulder, like, even though I'm not physically seeing it with my physical eyes, I have the mental image. So I can see that image. And then I can see also the meaning that I make of it. So like, let's say there's a tender sensation in my knee. I've got the image of my knee, and then I've got the sensation in my knee, and then I've got the meaning applied to it. The meaning is like, oh, I'm getting older. Oh, and then there's also like in the future, my knees are, they're gonna like creak when I go up and down the stairs, and I won't be able to dance as easily. You know, like I've got the meaning, the story, and then I've also got images again of the future. So to me, and this is a long answer, but to me, one of the ways that I play with that is like, okay, so let me be with all of that and feel the experience and see what that's like. You know, feel the like, oh, the grief about it, the anxiety about it, the like tension about it, the mourning about it, you know, whatever comes up. And then, okay, now can I be with just the experience of the sensation of the knee as best I can without the image of the body in this moment, without the image of the body in the future, without the meaning of like, you know, this means, you know, this sensation means something. Can I just be with sensation without all of those other layers? And then to kind of go back and forth between like, okay, with all of those layers, okay, without the layers. And to me, that sort of back and forth reveals a lot. And it also, in my experience, the image of our own body, I find this for myself, but also with people that I work with, and like I have friends who are in the same practice. Being with experience without the image of the body is like next level. Is like, whoa, I don't even know how to be with this sensation without projecting an image onto it. So that's I think one of the stickiest kind of layers of the mind.
Oh my God, you have blown my mind. I had not ever thought about experiencing and leaning into just the sensation separate from the body temple.
Yeah.
That is next level. Wow. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Great reply, because that's profound.
Yeah.
It's so easy to mix this up, and then you get identified with, I'm this aging body, and it starts to catapult into all kinds of negative experiences. But
Totally.
you know, I wanted to, this was so perfect. Like, I needed to hear that answer. Thank you so much. And it really tripped off a lot of thought when I read this, and I was like, God, I want to ask this question to the group. And your answer was, thank you. Wow.
And I'm like, I left because Benjamin came home, and I'm like, oh my God, I just missed something so important. I can listen back.
Yeah.
You know.
BJ's reply was an entire session unto itself. Yeah.
I'm so glad it's meaningful to you, because it's a lot of experience condensed. And I'm glad it worked for you.
Completely resonated with me, because I can really see this as a practical tool. Next level, yes, but not impossible.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the more you go down these rabbit holes, the more stuff there is to do a self-inquiry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I come back frequently to an incredible line in A Course in Miracles, which is, there are no hierarchies in illusion. There's just none. It's all neutral. We're on the same playing field. It's an illusion, so there's no hierarchy. But this provides a bridge to the perfect body temple as acceptance for this aging process. It's been a push-pull for me. I feel okay about it, and then I don't. And but I think this inquiry will bring me into a focus of, I needed a tool to get there. So thank you.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh my Lord. Thank you. Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Have you ever seen a breakthrough live? You've just seen it.
Yeah, totally. All the time. That's my jam.
Yeah. Thank you.
Come with me to the session room.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Thank
exciting.
you so much. All right.
Well, I think I'll read the next section. We are the awareness with which sensations and perceptions are known, in which they appear, and ultimately out of which they are made. It is only when we allow our essential self to become mixed with sensations and perceptions and interpreted by thought that we seem to become qualified by and limited to them. If we stay close to the evidence of experience, that is, close to the knowledge of ourself, we experience no form within ourself. We are simply formless awareness. Even to say that is to say too much. But if we are to say anything at all about this, we must allow some concession to language. If awareness relaxes its attention from the objective content of experience, its awareness of itself emerges from obscurity in the background of experience. Awareness is without form and, therefore, has no limit. Just as the space of a room fills the room, but is not limited by it, so awareness pervades the body, but is not confined by it. Just as the space of the room is not generated by the four walls, nor does it share their destiny, so awareness is not generated by the body, and nor does it share its destiny. In awareness experience of itself, there is no knowledge of birth or death. And let's open it up. So, one thing that stands out to me in this section was the very first sentence. We are the awareness with which sensations and perceptions are known. So that's what this book has mostly been pointing to, I think, up until this point. And then the next two, I think, are sort of the next like recognitions that he's, that's sort of, so the first one is like to come back to that, like, okay, I'm drawing myself back from the world, I'm not this, I'm not that, so that I can find I'm the awareness with which it's known, with which experience is known. And then those next two layers are like, I find sort of like reaching back out into the world. Like I'm the awareness in which sensations and perceptions appear. That's sort of like taking what I am back out towards sensations and perceptions. And ultimately, I am the awareness out of which the sensations and perceptions are made. So that's like what I'm made of is what they're made of, right? So I just really appreciate how he's been like drawing us back, finding that, anchoring there, and then like is taking us back out towards like, remember, we're not separate though, right? Like find yourself. And to me, it feels really parallel to the teaching from Ra of know yourself, accept yourself, become the creator. It's like know yourself. To me, a shorthand is like know the awareness, accept yourself. So accept to me is like is moving more towards form. That's what at least part of what needs to be accepted. Accepting the form that we are, as well as the expansiveness and the limitlessness that we are. And as we rest into not that, but also yes, that, to me, that's like how we move towards becoming the creator. It's like knowing the essence that we are, that is everything. So I'm really into that. And I'm just really touched by how willing he is to say the same thing in slightly different ways over and over and over. Like it just feels like peeling an onion. And I feel my own awareness just like emerging and emerging and emerging, just a little bit at a time with his guidance. I'm really grateful for that.
Well, a good teacher circles back to the truth.
Yeah.
And so you have an array of students. You find different ways to interpret that truth, that it reaches the audience. And yeah, he has a brilliant way of continuing to circle back. I agree with that. I don't know. I'm hung up on that last sentence that an awareness is experience of itself. There's no knowledge of birth or death. I think this continues or segues into the thing about aging that I was talking about, but I find it interesting that he mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that he's brought that up in the previous chapters. So I was kind of curious. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the gift of awareness, is to know that death is flow. It is just an out breath and an in breath. And I love how all of our breaths are bookended in this life. We breathe in, we breathe out. But the first one and the last one are the bookends into the next portal of existence. But somebody said that to me, happy born day to someone who was never born and she'll never die. I was like, and I had a birthday last month. I said, oh, that is true. But he says before that awareness is not generated by the body, and nor does it share its destiny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of thought that awareness was my soul, or the soul of the essence of this being, and that continued with me. I look at destiny, as I think I mentioned to you, the free will of my higher self. How does the awareness not stay with my or our each of our soul journey? Am I interpreting this incorrectly? Because I'm not sure if I'm on the right path.
Jump in,
with that
William. You
one.
look like you've got something to say.
The way I read that is that awareness doesn't share the body's destiny, in that at the time of death, the body will decay and fall away. And so awareness never decays and falls away.
Right. I read that he was saying something different than that. I'm with you there. But he said, nor does it share its destiny.
Yeah. I think he means the destiny of, eventual failure of the body, death of the body.
Oh, okay.
The body ends, awareness doesn't end.
Right. Okay. That's what I thought, but I didn't think that's what he was writing. So I was needing some illumination on that one. Yes, I agree. Yeah. It never dies.
Yeah, and I also really appreciate, have appreciated for myself when I can find in meditation, like when I can track back to, like, releasing all experience as best I can and just point awareness at awareness and find the qualities of that awareness. Like I can find that there's no edges, at least that I can perceive, that I can be aware of. So in that way, it's limitless. And I can't, so, in space. And similarly with time, like when I'm in that space, like I can't find a beginning of awareness. And if there were a beginning to awareness, it seems as though I would have to be aware of it. And if I can't find a beginning, it seems as though there can't be a beginning. And I don't know that for sure, but I just really have appreciated, teachers pointing me to that. Like, I can't find a birth of this awareness. Even if, for instance, I could find, if there was a way for me to have a memory of this body being born, that wasn't the birth of awareness. And that's just really fascinating to me.
Yeah. Mm.
You're muted, Spirit Song.
That in awareness's experience of itself, no knowledge of birth or death, magnifies for me the timelessness, the agelessness. How can you identify an age? I mean, we have this way of saying it's a year, it's 365 days, and then you're another year older. But we're just a stream of consciousness changing form over a lifetime in 3D and whatever else we are, any number. I don't know that we're not living in multi-dimensions at the same time all the time, And this is so amazing and wonderful to me, but I have another meeting at 8:00 that I can't miss. So I'm so glad that I got to come along this far, and I'm going to have to give you my love and let go for now and come back and listen to the, yes. Thank you all.
Love you, Spirit Song. Thank you for being with us.
Love you too. I'll catch up with you all later.
Okay. Well, how about we go ahead and read the last section? William, would you like to read?
Yeah. No experience leaves a trace on awareness, and nothing can harm or destroy it. Therefore, it is without fear. As the space of a room cannot be agitated by anything that takes place within it, so awareness cannot be disturbed by anything that occurs in experience. Thus, our nature is peace. And just as nothing that takes place inside a room adds anything to the space, nothing that takes place in experience adds anything to ourself. We are inherently and unconditionally fulfilled. Thus, in the experience of happiness, we taste or know our true nature. It knows itself as it essentially is. In the Vedantic tradition, this understanding is expressed by the simple phrase Satchitananda. Sat means being, Chit, knowledge or consciousness, and Ananda, peace or happiness. Thus, Satchitananda means to know your own being is happiness itself, or put more simply, you are happiness itself. The experience of happiness is our being shining in the midst of experience. That is all anybody ever truly seeks. We are simply seeking our own being. Our being is seeking to come back to itself, to know or taste itself again, to recognize itself. Peace and happiness are not experiences that happen to us from time to time or that alternate with agitation and suffering. They may be eclipsed by the content of experience, but they're never absent. Peace and happiness are not even qualities of ourself. They simply are ourself. Every time we experience peace or happiness, we are experiencing the shining of our own being.
Mic drop. Sorry. Let's just be with that.
Yeah. I think a profound experience on the path is to know that joy is my natural state. For in the
Yeah.
world of illusion, it's always temporary. It's not even joy, it's happiness. Happiness is temporary, but it's always until the next fix. The spirituality gives me the understanding that it is a constant state of normalcy. It is my natural state. Therefore, anything added upon that is just experience that is temporary and changeful. Because yeah, we alternate from time to time, as he said, from our experiences that may eclipse, diminish, obscure that state of timeless joy, eternal joy. And it's just a state of bliss for me to contemplate that peace is the resting place of my being. As one who spent years going to church, living in form, everybody was running around chasing peace and never knew how to find it, never knew where it was. It was just an elusive concept. To know thyself is to know peace. And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I've really appreciated the image of like a sky. Our nature is like the sky.
Mm.
And the experiences that come and go are clouds that move across the sky. And so we can often confuse, we can see a gap in the clouds and like, oh, look, there's happiness. And it seems to come and go because it gets covered, but it's always present. It just gets covered by the clouds and then the clouds go. It's not, so happiness and peace in that way are not an experience that come and go. It's always there. It's just the experiences that cover over. Yeah. That experience and that metaphor, that image really works for me. Like, oh yeah, that resonates.
Yeah. Me too.
Any final comments or insights from you, William?
Just that your cloud metaphor resonates with me. have that same metaphor, but it's kind of inside out, or looks at it from another angle. It was like, imagine that awareness is like a frame, and you have a sky, and if the frame's too small, all you'll see is cloud. But if you enlarge the frame, you see that the cloud is simply a moment or experience inside of that piece. And when we become attached to experience, or the idea of what we're experiencing, we're kind of making the frame too small and mistaking the cloud for the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think Muji brought that metaphor to me, the cloud. Yeah.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. He talks about the passing of the clouds.
Yeah.
I had a meditation one time where I saw myself looking through a kaleidoscope, and all of these shape-shifting designs were like form and all the experiences. And then when you take all those crystals away, you just have this pure light.
Mm.
So I want to be the kaleidoscope with no colors. The colors are all the experience. It's always changing.
Mm.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think this happened in the last chapter as well. There's definitely this beautiful crescendo, both in what he's saying and how he's saying it, such that at the end of the chapter, it really is quite a moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
I really loved chapter 5. I just thought,
Mm.
like you say, mic drop. I mean, I read it twice. I was like, man, this is so juicy.
Woo!
Right.
Mm. That's
Thank
exciting.
you.
I really love that y'all get so lit up about it too. It's really meaningful to me and to share.
I thank you for
this.
providing this space for us to unpack it. Thank you so much.
Mm. You're welcome. Love y'all.
Thanks. Y'all have a blessed rest of your week.
Mm.
May it be most wonderful.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Thank
May
you.
we experience it. The wonderfulness that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some homework. I'm going to work on your suggestions. So
Awesome.
I'll take that one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and message me if you have any questions or need help.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. I shall. William, have a good rest of your chilly week.
Thank you. And you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.